On Used Bike Heaven this week, we'll meet Sam Gilbert. He's got lots of money and is looking for something very exclusive. We'll have another featured used bike, another riding tip, and there'll be more advice to help keep you on the right side of the law. This is Sam Gilbert. He's a 27-year-old from Birmingham and he works as a sales manager for a lighting company. The last bike he owned was a Suzuki GSXR 600, but since then he's come into some money and now he claims to be absolutely loaded. So today he's looking for something sporty, but more importantly, it has to stand out from the crowd.
And welcome to the show, and I have Sam with me. Now Sam, first of all, I do have to apologise for the weather. I hope you're not a fair weather biker.
No, it's looking a little good.
It is.
Yeah.
I've had to bring the bikes inside into the greenhouse, but I have actually ordered some nice weather for you for later.
Good stuff.
Well, got 3 bikes for you. Got the Aprilia RSV Milli.
Okay.
That's £7,500.
Oh, right.
Got the Bimota SB6. That's £5,200. And the MV Agusta F4. That's £9,000. But
Right.
we don't care about the budget.
No.
What do you think of these?
This one, the Aprilia, very nice looking bike. Nice colour scheme. At least it'll go with my leathers. Nice big exhaust. It's what I'm looking for, really. It's quite stylish.
It's got a lot of extras on that.
Right, it's the R, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's going to have some extras.
Yeah.
I think it's something to do with the suspension. Very nice bike. Very
Right.
nice bike.
Okay, the Bimota?
Looking at the Bimota, it just looks a little bit small. I don't know whether it's because it's
yeah.
stood next to here, but also a little bit dated. But
don't judge a book by its cover.
okay.
The MV Agusta.
Again, nice looking bike, very
Yeah.
stylish, red. It's going to go with my leathers. I'm not going to have to buy new kit. Not that that's a problem, and the exhaust out from underneath the tail light.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It looks
Yeah.
a nice bike,
Does
doesn't
look-
it?
yeah.
So you're happy with our little
Yeah,
bunch then?
yeah.
Right, well I'm glad because we're going to let you loose on them.
Good stuff,
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
stuff.
So, but before we do, we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give you some hints and tips, facts and figures on these 3. Okay.
Good stuff.
Well, Sam, if it's exclusivity that you're after, then how about a Bimota SB6? You certainly won't see too many of these parked up outside the local. Styling-wise, it's fair to say that it's not exactly state-of-the-art. After all, this model first appeared in 1994, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that there's a hint of Kawasaki's ZXR range built into the front end. Some would argue, though, that that's no bad thing. You'll have an impressive 156 brake horsepower at your disposal, thanks to the 4-cylinder motor, which is lifted straight from Suzuki's GSXR 1100. But bear in mind that the SB6 was discontinued in the January of 1999. Maybe that will add to its exclusivity, only you can decide. This particular bike, though, is a P-registered from 1997, and it's covered just under 12,500 miles. It's in excellent condition, and it's up for sale at £5,200. Perhaps you'd like to spend even more, Sam, then feast your eyes on the MV Agusta F4. Italian style and flair at its very best. From the gorgeous sculptured curves of its bodywork right through to the 4-pipe underseat exhaust system, this bike has to be one of the best looking sports machines available today. Power comes from a 750cc 4-cylinder fuel-injected motor, but you'll need to work it fairly hard and keep the revs well above 6,000 to enjoy its 126 brake horsepower. It's a very focused machine and the riding position has you stretched over the tank in real racetrack style, so don't expect too much comfort. Our bike, Sam, is a W registered from the year 2000 and it's covered a miserly 1,300 miles, so it goes without saying that it's in pristine condition. That, of course, is reflected in the price, which is £9,000. And finally, this week we have Aprilia's RSV Milli R. This particular machine is made even more exclusive by the fact that it actually bears the signature of one Mr. Troy Corser, the man who actually helped develop and improve the Milli R through his racing exploits. Power delivery will feel slightly different to the other bikes due to the fact that this uses a 60-degree V-twin engine which claims 128 brake horsepower, so there's plenty of low-down grunt for you to enjoy on those evening rides into the country. Handling-wise, you shouldn't find too much to worry about with the Milli. It has expensive Olin suspension all round and lightweight Oz racing wheels to help you flick it through the twisties. Physically, it's the tallest of the three machines this week, and you being 6'2", Sam, it may just offer a touch more comfort than the other bikes. This bike is a 2001 model and it's seen 4,500 miles. It could be yours today for £7,500.
So that was Paul there with a few facts on these bikes. So we're going to let you loose on the F4 first.
Okay.
Have you ever been on anything like that before?
No, nothing like this. It looks a little uncomfortable, but
they all look a bit that way.
Yeah, give it a go.
Yeah, so you like the looks of it then,
yeah,
you're happy?
Nice looking bike.
Marvellous. Will you get your helmet on?
Okay.
Try and figure out how to get the hell
Sure.
out of here and we'll be all right. So while Sam has a play on the MV Agusta, we're over to Paul with this week's used bike review.
Thank you, Fran. Now, you know, not everybody wants a high-tech, super-duper, high-performance plastic rocket. Not everybody wants that. Some people prefer a more relaxed style of riding. So while I chill out, you just go and take a look at this week's featured used bike. This is Kawasaki's KLR 650, and when I spoke of a relaxed ride, I really wasn't joking. It's a big, tall bike, but as soon as you clamber aboard, the soft suspension compresses and the thick padded seat offers more comfort than I've actually found on some so-called long-distance tourers. But a tourer this is definitely not, nor is it a sports bike. It is a big plodder that couldn't possibly frighten even the most novice of riders, with its single-cylinder 4-stroke motor kicking out a rather uninspiring 40 and a bit brake horsepower. It's a good town bike though, and if all you ever use it for is to cut through busy traffic, then it's fine, and you'll certainly arrive at the office stress-free and without too many aches and pains. Well, we've said it's a fairly relaxed style of riding, but it's got some off-road look, so it must have some off-road ability. Well, looking at the bike and looking at the tyres, they're a sort of intermediate tyre. I'm not sure they'd be great on anything that was too serious off-road, so you perhaps want something a little bit knobblier on the back there if you're going to do too much off-road work. What about the protection then? You need a lot of protection when you're riding off-road. The bike needs to be protected. Well, here we've got this kind of sump guard, that's all it is. And if you went through any thick mud or dirty, horrible stuff, it's all going to go straight through there and all over your engine. It'll take you ages to clean it. So if it was my bike and I was going off-road, I would probably leave that on, but I would put a plate over that just to protect the motor a bit. Further up the front, we've got the fork gaiters up there, so they'll protect the fork tubes from the worst of the weather. But the front disc is completely open to the elements, so that will get covered in mud and rubbish, so you'd want a disc cover on that. And apart from that, it's a nice bike, isn't it? It's a pretty bike. There's no bumps and bruises and scratches on it, and it'd be a shame to get it dirty. Ah well, I promise not to go through any puddles. The fact that it has a big 21-inch front wheel, wide handlebars and decent ground clearance mean that it's bound to have some off-road ability. You certainly wouldn't get away with this on your race replica sports bikes, but I think it's perhaps more suited to green laning along dusty tracks than anything a little more serious. And as we've said, it would be a shame to subject that rather nice clean bodywork and those shiny chromed wheels to 6 inches or more of thick mud. The KLR has been around now for 15 years, so there's no doubting its popularity. This bike is a year 2000 model and has covered just 2,000 very clean miles. A new one would actually cost you a touch over £4,000, but in a used bike showroom, a bike of this age and in this condition should cost you around £2,800. So where would you buy something like a KLR 650? Well, you'd buy one if you wanted to go off-roading. I personally think it could do with beefing up just a little bit for any serious off-road work, but the ability is there already within the bike. And you've got to say, at less than £3,000, it's not a bad winter bike, because you go out on a frosty winter's morning and throw one of them down the road, you're going to do a lot less damage than you will on your fancy high-performance sports bike. And probably its best feature is that it's nice and relaxed. You won't get stressed out when you're riding it.
Thank you, Paul. Well, while you were away, Sam came back with the F4. What did you think?
I said that it looked uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't uncomfortable, but I felt a little bit upright on it. I don't know whether that's because I'm 6'2", but I felt a little bit upright on it.
Yeah.
But as a bike, it was an absolute fantastic bit of kit. The suspension felt, I've done a track day before on a race bike. Now, the suspension shower, it was very good on the road. Really felt quite confident on the bike. It was just, and I an eye turner as well, eye catcher.
Yeah.
People were looking all the time. They were turning around because it had this big exhaust on the back. The power is just
Very
fantastic.
unusual style, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it looks the part. It really does. It has got some good power behind the engine. You know, it was rather fast bike, very responsive, and I did feel confident. But the only downfall about it was I felt too upright on it. I felt as if I was
Did that
not
interfere
relaxed
with your
on the
handling
bike.
then?
Yeah, because I didn't feel fully relaxed on the
Right.
bike. Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, there you go. I mean, looks wise though?
Looks wise, hands down, it could be a winner.
Yeah. It's £9,000 as well.
It's a lot of money to buy just for looks.
It is.
Because I think, you know, I'm going to have to really be totally confident with the ride of the bike.
But you look the part.
Look the part,
You
got a
look the
few
part.
head turns as well.
Right. Well, talking of head turns,
Okay.
I know you don't think this one may turn as many heads, but we don't know yet. This Bimota SB6, what do you think?
Well, let's certainly give it a go.
Well, you get your helmet on and
Okay,
let us know what you think.
sure.
So while Sam has a play on the Bimota, we're over to Paul and PC Pulfrey and their right side of the law.
Well, thank you, Fran. Now, this is something we've all done before, isn't it? I have, anyway. I don't mind admitting it. We've all parked on pavements before, Chris. Here we are, parked on a pavement because we're going to nip to the local shop. Won't be a problem, we think.
We think.
Is it a problem? Is it illegal to park on a pavement?
Simple answer, yes.
Yeah?
You can't park your bike on a footpath.
Right, OK.
So you're looking at fixed penalty, probably £30 non-endorsable, I would say, for parking on a footpath, unless we're into a serious obstruction or a dangerous position, and dangerous position then becomes an endorsable offence.
All right.
So potentially it can get you points in your licence.
Right, here, there's an entrance here to a building, so we're obstructing that.
Yep.
We made a right mess of it, really.
I think you're looking at the common sense application, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
If you park it out of the way, if it's a nice big wide footpath, it's out of the way, park considerately, most people would say that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you see some are just abandoned, literally,
Yeah.
while you nip to the shop or whatever, and then it becomes, if someone makes a complaint because they can't get the buggy through or whatever, along comes a local friendly traffic warden or a police motorcyclist, and we have to take some sort of action.
Right, OK, so the answer is park it somewhere where you're supposed to park it. Which brings me on to another point then about parking bays. A parking bay for a car, one of these pay and display things, right?
Yeah.
I ride up on my bike, I buy a ticket, I've paid my money, I've paid my road tax, I've parked in the bay. What's wrong with that?
It changes from town to town.
Does it?
But generally, a parking meter bay for a car is for a car.
Right.
And there should be alternative spaces provided for solo motorcycles.
Right.
If it's a pay and display, then you have to go to the meter, obviously, check the board out, and it will tell you exactly where you can and where you can't pay at park and how much you've got to pay.
And that'll tell you whether or not you can put your bike in a bay.
Yes.
And if you can't, stick it on the pavement.
Yeah, abandon it.
No, right, so the answer is read the rules, because they will be there somewhere, won't
Yeah, it's same with the yellow line side of the road.
Yeah.
You see a yellow line, there's got to be a restriction of some sort.
Right.
Have a look round, you'll find a little plate that qualifies when you can, when you can't park,
Right.
and then you're all right.
Right, read the rules and you won't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Smashing.
So that should keep you on the straight and narrow. Well, that's it for part one. Join us in part two when we see what Sam thinks to the Bimota and we send him off on the Aprilia. And Paul will be back to give you some riding advice. See you after the break. Welcome back to Used Bike Heaven. Now, if you were with us before the break, you'll know we're with Sam, who's looking for something a bit smooth, bit stylish, bit exclusive, and doesn't have a budget, which is great. So we sent him out on the MV Agusta. He liked the looks of that, but wasn't sure he could spend too much time on it. Then we sent him out on the Bimota SB6. What did you think?
Well, the Bimota has pleasantly surprised me, really has. I mean, I said at the start, it's going to be uncomfortable, it's too small.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Really?
I really like the ride. It seemed a little bit more powerful than the Agusta.
Well, it will because it's a GSXR 1100 engine.
Oh, you see, that's
And that's
why
a
then.
750.
Right,
So
got it.
hopefully it would feel
Got
faster.
it. It really had a little bit more power. Still, I'm not convinced with the riding style. The seat, my bottom position seemed to be a lot lower than the handlebars, so I was a lot lower.
Yeah.
Not what I'm looking for, but the bike was fantastic.
You were really
Excellent ride.
surprised.
Yeah, really surprised. From looking at it, a very dated bike, but fantastic.
Step this way to the
Okay.
Aprilia. Hopefully, this is going to please you. The RSV Millie R. What do you
Right.
think?
Well, I mean, when we first had a look at them, this was the bike that really caught my eye.
Well, you get your helmet on
Okay.
and tell us what you think.
Sure, no
Okay.
problem.
So while Sam puts the Aprilia through its paces, we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give you some riding advice.
Thank you, Fran. Now we're going to talk about embarrassing moments on motorcycles now, because what could be the most embarrassing thing that happens to you when you're out on your bike? Well, probably that you fall off, and worse than that you fall off in a car park that's full of all your biking mates, because they'll have a good laugh at your expense. And it could be expensive as well. If you drop a bike, particularly a fully fared bike, a sports bike, something like that, on a car park that's full of gravel, even at low speeds, you can do an awful lot of damage. It can cost you a fortune to put it right. And very often, when we go to our local beauty spots and pub car parks, they're very gravelly, they're uneven, and people do fall off. But there are a few things you can do to help avoid that. And the first thing you should do when you're on loose ground or gravel, the golden rule, is come off the front brake. Take your hand off the front brake. Because if you press the front brake, the front wheel tends to dig into the soft ground, and it can lock and it can skid. And if you have a front wheel skid, chances are you will fall off. So use the back brake. Even if you're a little bit sort of overzealous with the back brake and you lock the back wheel, you can get away with it. You can live with a back wheel skid at low speed, but you can't live with a front wheel skid. Another thing you can do is shift your weight backwards. And if you watch an off-road rider, a motocrosser, or in particular one of the Paris-Dakar riders, as they're going through the sand, if you watch them, they'll sit on the bike with their arms out and all the weight back towards the rear of the machine. And the reason they do that, it's not for effects and it's nothing to do with streamlining, it's to keep the weight off the front, it's to keep the front end light to stop it digging into the sand, because if it does that, they're over the top and it can be very, very painful. Also, try to keep the bike upright as you can, because obviously the more you lean over, the more chance you've got of coming a cropper.
Thanks for that, Paul. Well, while you were away, Sam returned with the Aprilia. What did you think?
I like this, Fran. I really did like this as a bike. Said from the beginning that it was my sort of height.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just fantastic ride. Comfortable. It had the power as well.
Right.
I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know much about the engine in this, but it really
This
did
is a
have a
1000cc V-twin.
Yeah.
So you're a V-twin man then?
well, I must be now, but it really did surprise me just on comfort, handling. I just felt upright, felt comfortable, even though it's a sport bike.
Yeah.
I was just pleasantly surprised with how comfortable it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you can cast your mind back now to the first bike, the
Yeah.
MV Agusta, good and bad points.
Augusta, great suspension, felt good on the road. Got a lot of power. Classy, eye catcher, and sounded the absolute business.
It does
on the
sound
road.
brilliant,
Certainly
that
turned
one.
a lot of heads.
Yep.
Yeah, it really did. Bad points. Wouldn't want to be on it more than an hour.
Right.
And I felt a little bit upright. Too upright to be comfortable for too long, really.
Right.
Yeah.
The Bimota, good and bad points.
Good points, pleasantly surprised, very quick. Quicker than the Augusta, well, even seemed quicker.
Yeah. Bad
Good,
points.
good ride. Bad points, looks dated to me to look at. I wouldn't be happy with it, really.
And a
In my
bit
garage, yeah, I wouldn't want to go and visit out in the
No.
garage. A little bit small, and again, I couldn't last all day on a Sunday on that.
No.
Not at all.
Even though it is the cheapest of the three and
Yeah,
pretty good value.
but a great
for money.
bike. Great bike.
Yeah. And we know what you think of the Aprilia. So have you made your mind up?
I have, yeah. I think I could live with that.
Okay.
Give it a push.
Well,
and I'll live with it.
before you tell me which one, we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give us a recap.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, Sam, will you choose the cheapest of our bikes, Bimota's SB6 at £5,200? You were pleasantly surprised with its power and handling, but you seemed a little unsure about its looks, which you described as perhaps a little dated. Probably a fair point. Or will you take MV Agusta's F4 at £9,000? You'd be unlucky to bump into another shiny red F4 at the local bike meet, so it's certainly got that exclusivity which you desire. However, you didn't find it too comfortable, saying you could only ride it for about an hour without a break. On then to Aprilia's Millie R at £7,500. There didn't seem to be too many problems here. You loved the power from the V-twin motor, and the riding position seemed just about right for your 6'2" frame. I agree about the exhaust can, but with your money, Sam, you'd have no problem changing it for an aftermarket system. So which is it to be?
So that was Paul with the recap, Sam. Put me out of misery. Which one's it going to be?
Okay, the Aprilia, fantastic ride, really nice, very comfortable, great to look at. I'm going to go for the Bimota.
You're not having me on.
No.
You're not having me on?
I am.
You
yeah,
are having me
yeah.
on? You're going to go for this, aren't you?
The Aprilia, yeah,
I thought
fantastic.
you were.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Right.
As soon as we stepped in, I looked at it, liked it from the word go. Fantastic ride. As I said, it's one hands down. The exhaust I could live with.
Right.
I really could.
Okay.
For the money, yeah, fantastic bit of kit.
Get
and I
everything
can
you
see
want.
plenty of good rides out on the Sunday.
Brilliant. There's just one problem. I know I've teased you a little bit about the pulling thing. It's a single seat. They're all single seats.
Fran, as I've said all along, it's not about the pulling, it's about me having a fantastic ride out on a Sunday. So the single seat, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. If you believe that, you believe anything. See you next week for some more Used Bike Heaven.
On Used Bike Heaven next week, we'll meet Andy Crawshaw, who's looking to change his 600cc Honda Hornet. We'll have another featured used bike, another riding tip, and some more legal advice.